Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we are again hearing from Sri Rupa and Srila Prabhupada and their beautiful proposal to bring us to the ultimate place of the three worlds, Sri Radha-kunda and Shyamakunda. Let us first offer our obeisances to them. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam in Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Dishe Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Parcharine Nivishesha Shunyadi Pashyata Deshatarine. May they allow us to understand their words in the core of our heart. I wanted to add a few things about the 10th verse that we saw last time from the purport of Srila Prabhupada, showing us how the gopis and Sri Radha are the greatest of all. And Prabhupada showed it in his purport in a very particular way. He says, of all these devotees, the gopis are recognized as superior because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. It's not that they do not want, but they even do not know. Which means, for the gopis, what we call personal interest is a concept that they cannot grasp. They cannot understand what is personal interest. It's like there are some philosophical concepts. When we try to understand them, we can't really get them because it's too abstract for us, or too elevated, or just because it's beyond our intelligence, beyond our capacity to understand. And there are many such concepts when we hear about Krishna. But personal interest, we understand very well. We don't have any struggle. You can speak to any person who is hearing for the first time the philosophy. You tell personal interest, everybody understands from the very beginning. It's never written in any glossary or anything because there is no need. For us, personal interest is a very common concept that we're swimming in during our entire life. So it's obvious, it's something very well known. But for the gopis, the concept of personal interest or doing something for one's own interest is something that their intelligence cannot understand. You may try to explain them philosophically, logically, poetically, in any way, forever, for eternity. You'll never be able to understand that because they can't. Their nature doesn't allow them to understand what it means something else than just satisfying Krishna. It's not that they don't allow them, they just they can't understand. It doesn't make sense for them. So the mind cannot grasp that. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. This we spoke last time. This is the effect of pure love. They do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna, and they do not expect any return from Krishna. That's the beauty of their love. But other devotees in Vraj also have this. This is true. They have it in a particular way. That is also a reality. And Prabhupada adds now what he wants to come to. Indeed, sometimes Krishna puts them into extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. So here Prabhupada brings the topic of separation. And one of the reasons why the gopis are the greatest is because of their separation. And because the fact that even though Krishna put them in the most intense separation, still they remain unchanged. Their love is never destroyed. They cannot forget Krishna, no matter what happens. When Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura, the gopis became most dejected and spent the rest of their lives simply crying in separation for Krishna. That's what it costs. That's the gopis' love. The gopis' love means they spent the rest of their lives simply crying in separation for Krishna. That is the inevitable second aspect of love, is that you feel separation. As soon as you really love, you feel separation from someone. And that's the proof of love. If you don't feel separation from someone, that means love is not there. Love makes someone feel separation. But they felt separation for the rest of their lives. From when Krishna left. Krishna left when he was 15 and a half. That means they were 14 and a half. Radha was 14 and a half. So they were with Krishna for 14 and a half years, which even, during their first years, they were not so much with Krishna. They started to have the association of Krishna when their Purvarag appeared. That means when they became young girls, adolescent girls, in the stage of Vayasandhi, which is when there is transition between childhood and girlhood. They enter what we call adolescence, beginning of adolescence. They started to now have the opportunity to associate with Krishna. In the beginning it was from afar, but their love started to manifest. That means from them it was constant from the very beginning. As Radha said, from the very first sight their love manifested. There was no need of any messenger between them. From the very first sight. And from that day on, it built up. It grew very, very fast until it became unlimited. That's what Radha says in the poem that Ramananda Roy chanted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just before Mahaprabhu put his hand on his mouth, because it was too beautiful. Ramananda Roy sang that poem of his. When we first met, love appeared from the first sight. There was no need of any person between us, just as soon as I saw you, as soon as you saw me, love appeared. And very quickly, she says, very quickly, extremely quickly, it grew up to a level where it became soon unlimited. And it became so unlimited that from that day on, it started also to, even though it was already unlimited, it started to intensify and still grow every moment more and more. But still these are few years they could have the association of Krishna, and then Krishna left for Mathura. And then they spent the rest of their life simply crying in separation for Krishna. And Prabhupada said, what is the rest of their life? Well, we know after 100 years of separation, Radharani finally could go to Dwaraka. So that's already 100 years. So it seems that they spent 100 years plus something more. 100 years. Simply crying in separation from Krishna. That's what the love of the gopis is. We could say the other inhabitants of Braj probably felt the same thing. Yes, the Gopas too, Nanda Yashoda also, but in different levels of intensity with different also feelings depending on their sthayi bhav, their rasa, their mood of love, their eternal relationship with Krishna. But still, that shows us what is the greatness of their love. They spent 100 years crying for Krishna. It's not that after 2 years of crying, they stopped because, okay, that's now 2 years we're crying. We're not going to cry our entire life. That's what the people say in this world, you know. Okay, he left you, you were sad, but now that's many months he left you, you're not going to stay sad like this in your life. Start your life again. Be happy, find a new lover and start a new life. And forget about that. That's the material love. But spiritual love, you cannot break it. Prema, one aspect of prema is that you cannot break it. Even though there may be all the reasons for prema to be broken. Rupa Goswami explains in Ujjvala Nilamani, one of the characteristics of prema is that even though there may be all reasons of the world and of the three world forever for that love to break, still prema by nature will not break, no matter what. So prema cannot be broken. That's another aspect of the prema. And it's a particular aspect, if I remember, of what we call manjista rag, which can never be destroyed. So that's the love they have, no matter what happens. But Prabhupada reassures us. This means that in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna. Because there is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. That means their crying for Krishna is actually another way of being with him. Because they couldn't be with him externally, then they became with him internally in their heart. And because Krishna in the heart and externally is the same person, the experience is on the same level. Prabhupada even says, rather, Viprarambha Seva, thinking of Krishna and separation, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. Thus, of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotion and love for Krishna, the gopis are most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. Which means she must be experiencing the highest level of separation too. That's the price of love. The greater your love, the greater the suffering this love creates in separation. But this suffering is actually the greatest love also, so it's also the greatest happiness. It's a very intertwined concept. Prema, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, or Kasturi Manjari explains, is like mixing poison and nectar together. Actually, this is, I think, Purnamasi explaining this. It's like mixing poison and nectar together, experiencing poison that kills us, and at the same time, pure nectar that keeps you alive and makes you immortal in unlimited bliss. And these two feelings, they become together. It's like burning jaggery or molasses. Burning molasses, when you put it in your mouth, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, it burns so much, but it is so sweet, you cannot spit it out. So you will keep it in your mouth no matter what it burns, because it's so sweet at the same time. So this is some little drops they give us to try to understand what is prema. So that means they have the highest level of separation from Krishna. And that's why they are the greatest lovers of Krishna. And Sri Radha, he's the highest, so this means she must have the highest feeling of separation, the most intense feeling of separation from Krishna. And yes, that's what it is. She has. And that's why all her girlfriends are around her, always trying to protect her, like the petals of a lotus, protecting the wall of the lotus. Because at any time she can enter into that fire of separation from Krishna that destroys the entire world, which is more intense than the fire of final destruction of the universe. That's what she experienced, and that's why the Astasakis, they are always with her. Like this, they have to protect her life. That's one of the service the Manjari have. All the Manjaris have also as one of their 16 main important services to protect the life of Radha. Because she is always on the verge of dying. That's the level of intensity of her love. Her love is so intense that she is always in the threshold of life. On the limit of life and death. But in that limit, situated in that limit, she also experienced the most unlimited love and the most unlimited bliss that goes together. This is the price of it. Actually, Sanatan Goswami explained in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that the gopis' love is so powerful that there is not even a moment where they don't feel the separation from Krishna, even when they're face to face with Krishna. There is no one moment in their life where they don't feel separation from Krishna. These are few things to make us understand how amazing is the nature of their love and why we do say that they are the greatest devotees. And Prabhupada says, and out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Krishna cannot understand. That's the one thing Krishna cannot understand. Shri Radha Pranaya Mahima Kidrisham Vanayama. What is the nature of that love that Radharani carries in her heart? 3 questions Krishna haunts Krishna forever. That's the first one. Actually, it's more or less the same question looked in different ways. Krishna cannot understand the heart, the love of Sri Radha. Second question is Svadyam Minadbhuta Madhurima Kidrisham Madhya. What does she experience when she experiences my unlimited beauty, my mind-blowing sweetness? Yanadbhuta Madhurima. What is the taste, the special feeling that she is experiencing at that moment? Krishna cannot understand because he's the person. And then Sokyam Chasa Mad Anubhavata. What happiness does she experience when she experiences all this? Krishna doesn't understand. Kidrisho Vetilobat. With that desire, Krishna appeared as Mahaprabhu. Sachigarbha Sindhu Harindo Tadasvadyam Sachigarbha Sindhu Harindo. And Prabhupada says here, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani, therefore he took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand her transcendental feelings. So that shows us how the love of Krishna is so great that it's even confusing Krishna, and then Krishna has to come and to take her position, to take her role, to try to understand. And that's the ultimate pastime of Krishna, the ultimate quest. Trying to understand Radharani's heart and love. And that shows us the greatness of who she is. And then Prabhupada said, in this way Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes in this 10th verse that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and that her kund, her lake, Sri Radha-kunda, is the most exalted place. As says the Laghu Bhagavatamrita Radha-kunda, Yatta Radha Priya Vishnu Stasya Kundam Priya Tata. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to Krishna, so her kund is equally dear to him. How is it possible that the kund of Sri Radha is as dear to Krishna as she is? I mean, this is the kund and this is Radha. How Krishna has the same affection, the same love for Radha and for a body of water, for a lake. It doesn't make sense. There is only one explanation, that the lake is not different from the person. And when Krishna sees Radha-kunda, he sees directly Radha, because indeed the lake is the heart of Radha, manifested in the form of a lake. That's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in Vrajariti Chintamani. And that's why her kund is as dear to Krishna as she is. The only way for this to be possible is that her kund is her heart. Because only her heart can be as dear to Krishna as she. So Rupa Goswami brings us to the understanding that her kund is the most exalted place, because this is the place where her heart, which is the most exalted heart we can see, is manifested and overflows. Therefore, Prabhupada concludes, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radha-kunda. That's Prabhupada's instruction. And among all Prabhupada instruction, we have different level of instruction. This is the ultimate instruction of Prabhupada, because he uses the word ultimately. So that when you use the word ultimately, that means this is ultimate. So Prabhupada here is giving us his ultimate instruction. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radha-kunda and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. That means not only once in a while, but throughout one's life, all life long. This is the conclusion, and Prabhupada here uses the word conclusion of Rupa Goswami in these stanzas of Upadeshamrita. So Rupa Goswami is the most important of our Sampradaya. We are Rupanugas, and that is his conclusion, is that everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Sri Radha-kunda. This is so clear. And it's not that it is too elevated. Prabhupada said ultimately we have to come to that. That's the end of the goal of our life, of everything we have been doing. And then Prabhupada will be happy with us, because that's where we will meet Prabhupada again. Yes. So many devotees have this beautiful feeling. They want to be with Prabhupada, which is very glorious. But that's where Prabhupada is. So if you really want to be with Prabhupada, you rather take at heart to take ultimately shelter of Radha-kunda, because Prabhupada took ultimately shelter of Radha-kunda as Raghunath Das Goswami did. Ishvara Tavalo Lakshi Sapriyaya Tadaspadam Atreva Mama Samvasi Ihaiva Mama Samstitim. O Radha, you whose eyes are always going very quickly in all directions out of your shyness and love. This kund of yours is where you enjoy where you manifest unlimited beautiful pastimes with your beloved. And this is where I have taken shelter, and I have decided to stay. Atreva Mama Samvasi. I'm going to be a Vasi. I'm going to be a resident of the shore of this lake. Ihaiva Mama Samstiti. And I'm going to stay here and I'm not going to go anywhere else. That's Raghunath's firm declaration to Radharani in the last verses of Vilapa Kusumanjali. And Prabhupada also has the same declaration. Prabhupada also took ultimately shelter of Radha-kunda. Rupa also, not only Rupa, but also Kasturi, means Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Rati, Rupa, Kasturi, Lavanga, Sanatan Goswami. As Lavanga Manjari, she also took ultimately shelter of Radha-kunda. I mean, they eternally are the embodiment of taking shelter of Sri Radha-kunda, because that's where they live eternally. Manjulali, Lokanath Goswami, Guna Manjari, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Rasa Manjari, Guna Manjari, Rasa Manjari, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami. They all took shelter of Sri Radha-kunda, as well as Lalita Vishaka, which means Ramananda Roy, Sarvabhauma, Swarup Damodar Ramananda Roy, Tunga Vidya, Prabodhananda Saraswati. All our acharyas, they ultimately live there. They originate from Radha-kunda, that's their ultimate shelter. And Prabhupada too. So that's why we're going to meet again Srila Prabhupada. But we need to go there. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is so sweet. Now Rupa concludes verse 11. Great devotees like Narada really attain the transcendental vision of Radha-kunda. How difficult it must be then for ordinary devotees practicing regulated devotion to attain. Rupa says in this way, of the many objects of favor, delight, and of all the lovable damsel of Vrajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love that we have explained. How much her love is great, that much also Krishna treasures her love. So she is the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine kund is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Now Rupa again explains that this kund is as dear to Krishna as her, because that's her heart. That's the only reason that could be. Undoubtedly, Radha-kunda is very rarely attained, even by the great devotees. That is the only problem, Rupa says, that this place, by nature, because it's the most sublime place and where the most beautiful love reigns for eternity, by nature it's also the most difficult place to attain. Why? Because love is difficult to attain for the people who don't have love, who live in the Jada Jagat. Jada Jagat, the inert material world. Normally we translate Jada as dull. This material world is dull. But I translate Jada as without love, because that's what it means ultimately. So the material world is the world without love, the world where pure love doesn't exist. So for people who live in the world where pure love doesn't exist, it's very difficult to attain. even for great devotees. So what to say? The great devotees, we imply those who have love. Like Narada, even Narada. But Rupa gives us a chance. But if one simply bases once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. This is the last word of Rupa. How come this place impossible to attain can be attained by a simple bath in its waters? That requires explanation. Shiva Maharaj explains it in this way in our Raj Mahima. But by bathing in Radha-kunda, either in body or mind, greatly fortunate devotees will gradually awaken within their heart a love similar to that of the maidservants of Radha. Or, now it's better, it's easier to understand. The word gradually has been added. By bathing in Radha-kunda, gradually, the devotees will gradually awaken within their heart a love that is similar to that of the maidservant of Radha. Very, very precious feeling that is very difficult to obtain. This feeling can be obtained there by bathing, either in body or mind. That's what Rupa always explained, to live in Raj either in body or mind. If we can't live by the shore of Radha-kunda and base there with our body every day, then we should do it mentally. Nobody can say, oh, I can't do it mentally. No, that's a kind of laziness. Of course we can. The mind can do so many things. We need just to take the time and will and sincerity, and then with our mind go on the bank of the Radha-kunda, take water from the Radha-kunda and base our body with it. Or just go down, walk down the steps in the waters of Radha-kunda and take baths there. Mentally, it's also non-different, according to Rupa Goswami. Whatever we do mentally or physically is on the same level for Krishna in devotional service. So we have a hope, we can do it. Why not doing it? I mean, if this is the way, we will awaken gradually in our heart a love similar to that of the maidservant of Radha. A love that will allow us to attain that divine place ultimately. Then why not doing it? The only reason would be that we don't want that love. We don't want to go to that place. We don't want to attain Sri Radha and Krishna and their service. We don't really want to meet again Sri Prabhupada, who is there with them. Or we just don't know, we just don't understand. We can't match the two things, that this is how we do it. But if we understand, then why not doing it? Let's try to understand. Today we are in front of Rupa, hearing from her. Let's dive a little bit more in this verse in order to try to completely understand what she is meaning here. Srila Prabhupada says, why is Radha-kunda so exalted? The lake is so exalted because it belongs to Radha, who is the most beloved object of Krishna, that we have understood. Among all the gopis, she is the most beloved. Similarly, her lake is also described by great sages as the lake that is as dear to Krishna as Radha herself. Indeed, Krishna's love for Radha-kunda and Srimati Radharani is the same in all respects. Prabhupada says, in all respect. That means, as I have said for the third time, the only possibility for that is that the Radha-kunda is the heart of Radha. So when we bath in the Radha-kunda, we bath in the heart of Radha. And that's why, now it makes sense, that by bathing in her heart, then we will gradually awaken within our heart a love similar to that of her maidservants. But Prabhupada says Radha-kunda is very rarely attained, even by great personalities fully engaged in devotional service. Not to speak of ordinary devotees who are only engaged in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti or devotion ruled by rules and regulation, or we can say distant devotion. Means devotion where we have appreciation for Krishna, maybe very sincere appreciation for Krishna, but with a certain distance. Regulated devotion brings or has the purpose to bring someone then to spontaneous devotion, where one doesn't want any more distance between him and Krishna, but just naturally wants to be as close to Krishna as possible, as close to Radha as possible, always with them, naturally, not because he's told that this is the best thing, or just because he got some drop of experience of it, and now his heart is captured, and that it becomes spontaneous. It's not that he will stop doing everything. He's doing the same thing, but not because of the rules. He's doing the same thing because his heart is now has been caught by the beauty of that love, and he will not be able to not run behind it. That's spontaneous. Prabhupada goes on. It is stated that a devotee will at once develop pure love for Krishna in the wake of the gopis if he once takes a bath in Radha-kunda. So here the word are once. Take once a bath in Radha-kunda and will at once develop pure love. How is it? It's a long time I have not been reading this from Prabhupada, so I'm rediscovering it again. I don't know what Prabhupada will say. But I like how he is presenting the thing. Let's discover it together. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends that even if one cannot live permanently on the bank of Radha-kunda, he should at least take a bath in the lake as many times as possible. That's what we have said, mentally. And not once, Prabhupada says here, as many times as possible. Remember very well, in these purports of Upadeshamrita, Prabhupada is somehow or other giving us his ultimate instruction. I do think, and I think it would be quite easy to demonstrate it in an irrevocable way, that these are the ultimate instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada says, according to Rupa, because these are the ultimate instructions of Rupa, because he's speaking about the highest thing, so it must be his ultimate instructions. And Prabhupada is just putting our hand in the hand of Rupa, or bringing us to Rupa and saying, listen to her, she will tell you. So as many times as possible, mentally, even if we cannot live there permanently, we should take baths in that lake. That means every day within our heart when we're chanting our japa, or when we're chanting our Gayatri, or in a meditation, we should go on the shore, on the bank of Radha-kunda and take baths, not dive for fun. Take baths with a great deep love, understanding this is the heart of Radha. These are the tears of Radha mixed with the heart of Krishna and his tears. I want to drown myself in her heart, in her love, in her tears. That's how we take baths in Radha-kunda. This is the most important item in the execution of devotional service, Prabhupada writes. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in this connection that Sri Radha-kunda is the most select place for those interested in advancing their devotional service in the wake of the lady friends, Sakis, and confidential serving maids, Manjaris of Srimati Radharani. Interesting, Prabhupada is not speaking very often of Manjaris in all his books. Very rarely indeed, but he's doing it. The proof that he's doing it is that he's doing it right here, in his ultimate purport. So he's quoting Bhaktivinoda, beautiful Bhaktivinoda, saying that this is the best place for those who are interested in advancing in devotional service in the wake of the Sakis, the girlfriends of Radha, and her confidential serving maids, maidservant, Manjaris. Living entities who are eager to return home to the transcendental kingdom of God, Goloka Vrindavan, by means of attaining their spiritual bodies, Siddha Deha, should live at Radha-kunda. Well, that's beautiful statements from Bhaktivinoda. Bhaktivinoda is beautiful. He has a beautiful heart. He's a Kamala Manjari. She's also eternally living there. Now she's telling us her vision of the thing. Living entities who are eager to return home, back to Godhead, to Goloka Vrindavan, to the highest abode of Krishna. How? By means of attaining their spiritual bodies. Siddha Deha, realizing their eternal form, their swarup, in the service of Radha and Krishna. Those who are interested in that, which should be our ultimate interest, because this is the ultimate goal of life, should live at Radha-kunda. Take shelter of the confidential serving maids of Sri Radha, the Manjaris. Take shelter of the Manjaris, Sri Rupa, Vilas Manjari, Rasa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Guna Manjari, Kasturi Manjari, Labanga Manjari, Manjulali Manjari, the 8 main principles, Ananga Manjari, and also Kamala Manjari, Bhaktivinoda, and today is the disappearance day of Narottam Das Thakur, Champaka Manjari, and all of them. Bhugarbha Goswami is Prema Manjari, Srinivasacharya is Mani Manjari, Shyamananda is Kanaka Manjari. They are all beautiful Manjaris. Ramachandra Kaviraj is Karna Manjari, Vishwanath is Vinod Manjari, Baladev Vidyabhushan is Ratnavali. I don't know if Ratnavali is a Manjari or a Gopi. Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is Rasika Manjari. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is Nayanamani Manjari. They are all Manjaris. We should take care of the Manjaris here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. And Prabhupada says also to us, it's just telling the same words of Bhaktivinoda because he finds they are perfect. take shelter of the manjaris, Sri Radha's confidential serving maids, and under their direction engage constantly in her service. That if you are serious, eager, if you have a real deep desire to attain, to go back home, back to God, that's what you should do according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Take shelter of Radha-kunda, take shelter of the manjaris, and under their direction, learn from them to engage in the service of Sri Radha. How do we learn from them? They wrote books where they explain. Rupa wrote books, Rati wrote books, like Vilapaku Sumanjali, she is explaining how to engage in the service of Sri Radha. And Rupa also in Ujjvala Nilamani, and Vijayanath Chakravarti Thakur also in Sankalpa Kalpadruma, and many others. Kasturi Manjari also, she explains how the Manjaris they serve Radhani in Govinda Lilamrita. We have also Krishna Bhavanamrita. So many books where they explain, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself explained in Siddhi Lalasa, which is in his songbook Gita Mala. He's making all these beautiful songs, showing us how we engage in the service of Radha. So this is their direction. We take shelter of them, we take shelter of their direction, because we desire deeply Tatralolyam api molyam ekalam, very intense desire. Lolyam means crying desire. We have this cry at heart that we want to attain the eternal company, the eternal service. We're taking shelter of them not only to attain something, we're taking shelter of them to be eternally under the shelter. We're taking shelter of Radha-kunda to reach the eternal shelter of Radha-kunda in the transcendental world. And that's where Ihaiva Mama Samstiti, we will stay for eternity. Then Bhaktivinoda continues, this is the most exalted method for those engaged in devotional service under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, Prabhupada is going very beautifully here. It's so amazing. That's definitely the ultimate instruction of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is telling us this is the most exalted method, taking shelter of Radha-kunda, by either living there physically or mentally. Means our mind and heart has to take shelter and residence in Radha-kunda. This is our home. This is what we call back home. We means Radha-kunda. Our home is where Radha is and where her maidservants are. This is our home. If she goes to, when we say Radha-kunda, that also means, this means also Radha-kunda and we call this Javat, Varshana, wherever Radha is. She doesn't stay in Radha-kunda all day long. She also goes to Javat. And all the manjaris, it's not that they stay in Radha-kunda waiting for Radha to come. They all go with her. And she stays 3 months in Javat, 3 months in Varshana. So, and they move with her. When they go to Varshana, they move with her. But every day they come to Radha-kunda and spend a lot of time in Radha-kunda. And also during the night, they also come to Radha-kunda. So that's the ultimate place where most beautiful things happen. But Radha-kunda means also, it includes also the palace of Radha in Varshana, and also the palace of Radha in Jabat. And also Nandagram, where she goes every day for some time. So, and all the places where she goes, maybe Sanket, Prema Sarovar, so many places here in Raj. But Radha-kunda is the heart, as we were saying in the beginning. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining Radha-kunda is like the seed from where the vine of Krishna's pastime, the root, Radha-kunda and Shyamakunda are the root from where the vine of all other Krishna's pastime, they grow and they spread all over Raj. So, Prabhupada said this is the most exalted method. Take shelter of Radha-kunda, of the Manjaris, and learn under their direction how to engage constantly in Radha's service. Most exalted method for those engaged in devotion under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we are following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the most exalted method of following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada writes here, in this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, now he's quoting his beautiful Bhaktisiddhanta, that even great sages and great devotees like Narada and Sanaka do not get an opportunity to come to Radha-kunda to take their bath. What then to speak of ordinary devotees? What is our chance? If by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha-kunda and bathe, even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna, exactly as the gopis did. That means we need to have that faith. It means Prabhupada is supporting that. If we go there and we take baths there, and he says, even once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna. It probably means by bathing once with a special mood. Or it may mean that by bathing one with with a proper mood, then the seed of that pure love for Krishna will be planted in his heart, and then that seed will have to fructify, because here he says, if by great fortune one gets an opportunity to come to Radha-kunda and bathe even once, even only once, he can develop his transcendental love for Krishna. That means he has the possibility, just the same love as the gopis. Because the seed is available here and can be planted in his heart. It is also recommended that one should live on the bank of Radha-kunda and should be absorbed in the loving service of the Lord. One should take baths there, should bathe there regularly and give up all material conception, taking shelter of Sri Radha and her assistant gopis, her manjaris and also her girlfriend. Take shelter of all of girlfriends also. Swarudamodara Anandarai, Lalita Vishaka, Chitra, Induleka, Champakalata, Rangadevi, Tungividya, Sudevi. One thing important is the first step in taking shelter of all of them is to learn their names. We can't really say that we're taking shelter of someone whose name we ignore. Learning their names is a very beautiful thing. They are not so much, let's start with 8. There are 8 kunj around Radha-kunda, Ashtasaki, Radhani makes things approachable. You just have to memorize 8 names. And what about saying these names every day? If they are so important, and if the ultimate instruction is to take shelter of those people, those beautiful girls, we probably have a great benefit by saying their name every day. with a heart calling for them. Lalita Vishaka Chitra, Induleka Champakalata Rangadevitu Ngavidyasu Devi. And then the Astamanjaris. Shirupa, Vilasa, Rasa, Rati, Guna, Kasturi, Lavanga, Manjulari. This is in the order, clockwise, starting from Lalita, Ananda Kunj, the Kunj of Sri Lalita, around Radha-kunda. So Bhaktisiddhanta says the same thing. Take shelter of Radha-kunda, try to live there, base there regularly, and give material conception, which means ultimately the identification with matter. Don't think that you are part of this material world. No. Your eternal identity is to be one of these beautiful girls in that world, or one of these beautiful boys in Krishna's company. That's another thing here. Everything is explained in terms of Madhurya Ras. But the same global principle is also applicable for the other races. It will be in different places. Priyanamasaka will take shelter of Shyamakund. Those who are in parental love will take shelter of Nanda Yashoda in Nandagram, or Rishabhanu and Kirtida in Varshana. The same principle applies, but Rupa is Rupa. She is who she is. She cannot be someone else, so she is explaining her heart. So Bhaktisiddhanta says the same thing. Take shelter of them. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the banks of Radha-kunda. Well, that's a great blessing. He said that and that's also what Prabhupada says to us. We have to understand, if Prabhupada chooses to repeat to us these words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta, actually we don't really know in his quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta where their words start and where they stop. Maybe his words are intertwined with them, most probably. But if he even chooses to quote them to us, that means their words becomes also his words for us. So these are all the words of Prabhupada. So if we are just engaged constantly in our heart, we're trying to always engage ourselves during his lifetime, not only Sundays, during our lifetime. Krishna consciousness is a lifetime practice, is a constant practice. It's difficult to say this, but gradually we go toward that constant consciousness. Take care of Radha-kunda, take shelter of Radha-kunda, take shelter of Sri Radha and her girlfriend, learn under her maidservant from what they are saying in their book, how to engage in her service. If you're doing this during your lifetime, then when you leave your body, you will return back to Godhead. That's what Prabhupada really meant by returning back to Godhead, to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the bank of Radha-kunda. Someone cannot understand here that when Prabhupada says return back to Godhead, he's meaning the banks of Radha-kunda. I would ask this person to read this sentence of Prabhupada again and again and to write it 100 times. If one is thus constantly engaged during his lifetime, after giving up the body, he will return back to Godhead to serve Sri Radha in the same way as he contemplated during his life on the bank of Radha-kunda. This is absolutely clear, and there is no other meaning of it. The conclusion is that to live on the banks of the Radha-kunda and to base there daily constitute the highest perfection of devotional service. It is a difficult position to attain, even for great sages and devotees like Narada. Thus there is no limit to the glory of Sri Radha-kunda. By serving Radha-kunda, one can get an opportunity to become an assistant of Sri Mati Radharani under the eternal guidance of the Gopi. The Gopis. Here is the conclusion of Prabhupada's ultimate instructions. If after that, my dear devotees, you don't understand what Prabhupada wanted to tell us, then read it again, or listen again to my humble attempt to explain it. And Srila Shivaram Maharaj makes some beautiful statements here, because he is a person who constantly meditates on this reality and also how to help the devotees to embrace that reality. He writes, but even if we cannot base in Radha-kunda every day, that's for us. He said previously that we could do it either in body or in mind. And that will enable us to gradually see awakening in their heart, a love similar to that of the maidservant of Sri Radha. Then he said, but even if we cannot base in Radha-kunda every day, our daily absorption in the morning and evening programs in Radhashyam's temple is like submerging ourselves in that lake of nectar. He is thus saying that by coming to the morning program that Srila Prabhupada gave us, we are ultimately submerging ourselves in Radha-kunda. He is saying to us that this is not different. Those who understand this will not miss Mangala Arati, because they understand this is their chance to base in that lake of nectar by coming to the Mangala Arati and to the morning program and evening program. This is like submerging ourselves in that lake of nectar, Sri Radha-kunda. A bath, either by pure sadhana on the bank of Radha-kunda or by dipping into her waters, assures success for devotees interested in advancing their devotion in the wake of the gopis or manjaris. That means, by pure sadhana on the bank of Radha-kunda, we can take baths. It must be pure sadhana with the pure conception that when we're doing this morning program, we're doing it actually on the bank of Sri Radha-kunda, because Radha and Krishna, they are there. And in Hungary, where he's speaking particularly about Hungary, which is even more true because Radha-kunda and Shyama-kunda are there in the temple room. Big, beautiful pools just next to the temple room. It's inside the temple compound. So devotees, when we go to Mangalati and to the morning and evening program there, we do actually go on the bank of Radha-kunda and Shyama-kunda. But it can be also true in whatever temple you are in the world, because Radha Krishna are also there. You must understand that means Radha-kunda and Shyama-kunda also must be there. But this requires that we are absorbed in our consciousness in that reality. in that we are coming on the bank of Radha-kunda, because if we're not doing it physically, it must be done mentally. Even if we do it physically here in Radha-kunda, it has to be done also mentally at the same time. So when we do this, we come to the Mangalarati, we have to think we're coming on the bank of the Radha-kunda. And we do come to this beautiful morning program that Prabhupada gave us in order to associate with the Manjaris and to learn from them, take shelter of the Radha-kunda, take shelter of them, because we're hearing their books. Well, during the classes, provided the speakers are knowing what they speak, then they will speak that. And or what is leading to that. So that's a beautiful vision. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, again, he's taking the same quote as Prabhupada, that Vaishnavas eager to return back to Godhead should live at Radha-kunda, take shelter of the Manjaris, and under the guidance engage in the service of Sri Radha. That's what it means to return back to Godhead. Having abandoned all material conception, which means of being not what we are eternally, and taken shelter of Srimati Radha and the other friends, devotees thus constantly engage in this lifetime. After giving up the body, return to Godhead. In Goloka Vrindavan, with the perfect spiritual bodies of gopis, such devotees will serve Sri Radha in the same way as they contemplating during this lifetime on the banks of Radha-kunda, provided they actually contemplated upon this during their lifetime. It's just a contemplation. So simple. We should just bring into our life that contemplation as our sankalpa, ultimate goal of our life. Contemplate that we want to attain that eternal reality of Sri Radha-kunda and Shyamakunda, who are like the heart of Radha and Krishna, and serve Radharani there under the shelter of her lake, of their lake, of her maidservant, of her girlfriend, learning to serve her with a similar love that they have. If we contemplate this during our lifetime, then we will attain a perfect spiritual bodies. We will return to Godhead, and we will serve Sri Radha in the way we contemplated. All devotees who seek after the essence of life reside on the banks of Radha-kunda, remain always absorbed in Shyam's loving service, base there regularly, and take shelter of Radha and the gopis. Beautiful. What to say more? This is what we should take at heart. And now we will try to do that by trying to hear more the beauty of Radha-kunda, the beauty of Radha's heart, the beauty of Krishna's heart. And this will be the beginning of our residing in Radha-kunda and coming every day to Radha-kunda by remembering all these beautiful things and putting that ultimate desire in our heart, that aspiration. We're aspiring for this. If we take this as our ultimate inspiration in life, in our heart, then we actually take shelter of Radha-kunda and we start mentally living there. Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha-shyam ki jai, Shri Shyamakunda, Shri Radha-kunda ki jai. Back home back to your dead. On the bank of Radha-kunda, just quoting the exact words of Srila Prabhupada.